start the video. Um, just remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to see if we can reach at least maybe close to 1K by the end of this year. Um, I don't really have much else to say. Just share these videos with your friends. Um, comment on the videos so that YouTube will be able to just distribute it more. Because apparently, the more comments on a video, the more YouTube is willing to distribute the videos to wider audiences, which means that I could also gain more views and also we could basically help me get closer to 1K so that we can unlock that community tab so that we will be able to be more interactive so that I can see your guys' thoughts and opinions more. And besides that, just share and comment, like the videos as well, just so that I will know that you guys are still interested in these what ifs. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. King Time X out. Play that intro. Some of y'all may be wondering who exactly is Bloodshot. For those who are unaware, he's a character from Valiant Comics. He has an interesting array of abilities. Those who already know the character know what I'm talking about. Those who don't, you'll find out as time goes by. It's really not that much, to be honest. On top of that, I would like to just say a couple of things. I'm going to be working on the Spawn What If Spawn Part 4. I'm going to start writing the script after I finish up with this video and maybe a couple more videos. On top of that, also go over to Big Gucci Tacos channel. Look into that Koichi video. Don't even bother watching. You don't have to watch all of the video. And just be sure to drop that like until it reaches 100 likes. Cause I'm trying to see part 2 of that story. Cause that story is interesting to me. And that's about it. Alright, let's go. His vision was going in and out. He was slipping in and out of consciousness. He didn't know what was going on. He heard the beating of a heart monitor and whispers of several people. He looked around and saw he was in some sort of hospital room. There was some sort of machine that was being injected into him, though, which made him confused, especially with where the machine was. It was directly in his chest. He didn't know the meaning behind it. He didn't even know how he got there. He started screaming in pain from what was being injected into him. He couldn't take the excruciating pain anymore. He saw the restraints on his body and broke out of them as if they were non-existent. Not only that, but he was able to rip the machine off of him as if it was clay. He saw several doctors around the room. The look on their faces, they were of absolute horror. He was still incredibly confused by the whole situation. He charged out of the room. Several men with firearms tried shooting at him, but he wasn't all that fazed by them. Sure, he was bleeding, but he seemed to be able to heal quickly. The bleeding didn't last long at all. And those that tried to block his path, he easily rampaged through. He ran through them like rag dolls. He grabbed one of their weapons and blasted a hole in the wall. He jumped through the hole and made it to the outside. He sprinted out of there as fast as he possibly could. By the time he became too tired to run anymore, he noticed he was in the woods. He was breathing heavily. He grabbed at one of the trees as a sort of support. for himself. He looked down at himself and realized he was in the nude and out in the open. He didn't know what to do. He grabbed his head in confusion and exhaustion before blacking out. When he woke up, he found himself in the same place as before. He did the same thing, but didn't get as far this time. He was trying to remember who he was, what he was, how he even got here in the first place, and what ended up happening was that he remembered his name being Yamukumo. At least he thought it was. He was sent on several missions with this memory of his. Something about being a death row inmate, being given a second chance at life through this project, through this Bloodshot project. That was the name of it. That was the life of Yamukumo. It didn't sit right with him though. It seemed off to him, strangely enough. He ended up having a meltdown not too long after this memory began to become corrupted. This memory of his was rejected and he started rampaging throughout the facility. His rampaging didn't last long though. Not as long as last time. This time he barely made it out of the facility. Before he knew it, he was given a new memory. This time, he was known as Tatsumi, a war veteran. This facade of a memory broke apart even faster than the first one. Several more memories were implemented into him, but none of them seemed to stick. Well, there was one that seemed to stick actually. It was about him being known by the name Azuku. He couldn't remember his last name though. Honestly, this memory was probably the most hazy out of all of them. All that he could get from this memory was the fact his name was apparently Izuku. He had green hair and green eyes alongside freckles, and he was bullied a lot. There was also something about this sludge villain attacking him, but any other memories of this life after that were seemingly non-existent. With this memory in mind, he began to question what he was doing on these missions anymore. His memories didn't add up. He didn't see the connection between his past life and this one. As the missions became more gruesome in nature, Zuku began to rebel a little against the commands given to him for certain missions. One of his missions, he was assigned to Hosu City. Apparently, there was something happening with these strange creatures attacking. He was confused at first when he got the orders, but he still left. When he made it to Hosu and saw the chaos, he was left in shock. So much chaos. The buildings were on fire and several heroes were trying to fight off these mindless animals. He wasn't exactly sure what these things were, to be honest. Their brains were showing and their eyes were lifeless. They were moving erratically. They didn't seem to have any sense of direction, no purpose. They were just causing chaos for the sake of causing chaos. You saw how one of the heroes in the vicinity defeated one of the strange beings. Endeavor was his name. He used his quirk in order to eradicate the head off of one of his opponents. Seeing that, he immediately came up with an idea. He grabbed one of the beings by the head and he threw them into one of the fires. He grabbed some other rebel and landed it on top of them. The creature was screaming, but he didn't stop there. He grabbed a couple pieces of rebel and landed it on top of them. The creature was screaming, but he didn't stop there. He grabbed a couple other heroes' attention and sent them over to deal with the creature he caught. He started rounding up groups of these creatures and used a special ability of his to make them docile. It was an ultrasound emission power of the sorts, which allowed him to make this low frequency sound which put creatures of any sort on a psychedelic high. Things were going relatively smoothly using this ability of his. The only problems here were when he was confronted by the heroes and mentioning someone missing. He immediately left and tried to evade the heroes. The heroes ended up chasing him. He was simply following orders, so he didn't know why exactly they were chasing him. He slipped into one of the alleyways and quickly changed his appearance to something they wouldn't immediately recognize. The first thing he could think of was what he supposedly used to look like. He went against it though. He tried making up the best fake appearance he could. When he finished changing his appearance, he was around 5 feet and 6 inches in height. He was originally 6 foot. He changed his pale skin to that of a fairly normal complexion. Just some tan skin, and he had a buzz cut. His clothes would have been a dead giveaway, so we changed those two to that of a plain white t-shirt and cargo pants. He wore some boots and leaped down the alleyway. He looked around and didn't notice the heroes anymore. He went wandering around the place until he heard some commotion happening in another alleyway. He looked in only to see a man wearing bandages, some torn up red cloth, and spiked boots about to cut off someone's head. His eyes widened and he immediately pulled out one of the guns that he had on hand. He quickly shot at the man, but he deflected it. "Who's there?" he hissed. Azuku, the name he decided to go by besides Bloodshot, stepped out of the shadows and faced the man with the swords. He pointed the sword to Azuku and questioned who he was. "You can call me Bloodshot, your worst nightmare." Oh, those are some big words coming from a no-name, don't you think? You'll see. Azuku shrugged. A small smile cracked up on his face. And that's it for now. I'm sorry that this is so short, especially compared to my other videos. Like, there's just not a lot of powers for this guy, and you know how hard it was to actually make this? Bro, I thought Bloodshot is just a cool character in general, but his powers are kind of lacking. That's probably like the thing that I don't like about this character. His powers are kind of lacking. And anyways, I'm going to probably do a double upload just because of how short this is. Anyways, just remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And then we'll be good. King Ty next out.